The management at ENIL now, Prashant Pandey and N. Subramanian as MD and CEO, as well as ED and Group CFO of Entertainment Network Limited are now joining us. Sir, slightly disappointing given the set of election spend that you've seen quite strong in the quarter gone by. What led to muted results? Can you just tell us about that?
The results are muted at all because a revenue growth of 10% in this quarter, I would consider it to be a very healthy set of numbers. And of course, you're right that the political spending in April and May has actually given us a bit of a boost. But don't forget that generally the market conditions have been very sluggish, and the month of June was particularly bad for all media companies. And if you notice the results that other companies in the media space have given, they've actually reported degrowths. So therefore, a 10% growth, I think, should be seen as a very, very healthy revenue growth number.
Can you tell us how the performance of the radio business was in Q1?
So let me take that. The radio business has done reasonably well, I would say, considering the fact that the overall media business was sluggish, like I mentioned earlier. The radio business has grown by about 1%, but while 1% may look like a small number to you, don't forget that it was a very strong growth of almost 20% in Q1 last year. So it's on top of a very high base that we've been able to maintain and grow that number by 1%. Again, of course, the fact is that overall market conditions are weak, and like I mentioned to you, June actually pulled the growth down. We could have done better if June had been stronger.
There has been slowing advertising spend, and what has things been post June? How have things looked like in terms of advertising spend in the midst of all this slowdown that everyone is talking about?
Well, almost all categories of advertisers have slowed their advertising spends in the first quarter, and it looks like they will continue that slowdown for at least this quarter, and then there will be a recovery hopefully in the festival quarter. But despite that, there are a couple of categories which have done very well for radio. Surprisingly, one of them is auto, and not so surprising considering the fact that dealers are under a lot of stress, and a lot of advertising is happening at local levels to clear the stocks, and therefore auto for the radio industry has grown by 50% in volume terms. So that's a huge growth of that segment. The other segment which has done well, of course, is organized retail. Again, organized retail, because a lot of discounting was happening and a lot of consumer offers have been running in the first quarter. So as a result of that, these sectors have done well. But generally speaking, all other sectors, whether it's FMCG, whether it is government itself, whether it is durable, auto overall, everything has been very weak in the first quarter.
What about CAPEX plans? How is it likely to shape up for this year? What are the plans you have? And if you could give us some kind of a guidance for margins as well.
On CAPEX, I think much of the CAPEX is completed. We commissioned all the batch 2 stations, so there's nothing left in terms of CAPEX. The spends that you will see on the CAPEX side will be more related to our international operations as well. But I don't see that crossing more than 10 crores in the current financial year. In terms of margins, it is actually a function of our FCT and solution business mix. In the solutions business, we are already we clocked close to 18% EBITDA margin during the quarter, and that's been improving. So we expect, on the back of stability in our new stations and also improving margins in our non-FCT business, the margin profile to improve over a 2 to 3 year period.
All right, Mr. Pandey, Mr. Subramanian, thank you so much for talking to us about the quarter gone by.